You mentioned that there's a lot of ghosting happening in the job search right now.
Uh,
And that's something that comes up every day when I'm talking with
yeah.
people. And there's a lot that goes into that concept. So what's been your experience with ghosting? I wonder if maybe we can dig into that a little bit and see what we might be able to change or adjust in order to get better responses.
Well, applying, sending my application, and then just not hearing anything back. Like no emails, not even from like automatic, like what is the rejection
Yeah.
thing or whatever. It just automatic rejected. Um, so I dealt with that. I've also dealt with sending emails, like to like if I find the department's like email, the person who's like head of the department, I'll send them an email and I won't hear nothing back. Also, um, on LinkedIn as well, sending DMs on LinkedIn. I've also been ghosted like that. uh, but I don't take it to heart, just because I know that, for one, they probably I'm not the only person trying to email them. Two, it got to the point where I'm just like, okay, maybe I don't have a lot to offer right now, but that's why I started this project.
Hmm.
Like maybe what I have on my resume isn't enough, and that's okay, because like I'll even sometimes I'll stumble upon someone's LinkedIn profile, and they're about like my age, and they're already doing what I want to do. And
Hmm.
I'll look through their resume and their experience, and they have all these internships and all this stuff. I'm like, oh wow, like dang, like that's probably why they are where they are. Um, so yeah, that's a really fueled this project as well. Is just having something else to talk about rather than the experience I gained, um, being the social media manager at my university.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
huge, right? Because the interview is all about being able to tell good stories, being able to
Mhm.
communicate not what you have done in the past necessarily, but what you're currently doing and what you could
Mhm.
do in the future, right? So the more
Exactly.
time you spent building up your own projects, the more current stuff you have to talk about. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting to dig into that networking side of things, of like trying to get people on the phone, trying to get a hold of people, and almost even dig into the nuances of it to a pretty heavy degree. We don't typically go as deep into the nuances, but I think maybe this is an opportunity for us to do it here of like, what are you saying in those messages that you're sending
Mhm.
out? I'd love to I don't know if you have one that you could quickly pull up, or if you just remember a message you sent out recently. What are some of the things that you're typically saying in that first message you send?
Mhm.
Maybe there's some things we can do to improve your response rates.
Let me actually let me pull one up, an email really quick. So here's one for a PR agency. It's a fairly small PR agency, but they do have big name clients, artists. So I reached out to the founder, actually, to the founder on email.
Nice.
So I said, hi Lauren. I hope you had a great weekend. My name is Alfredo Ayala. I'm a recent public relations graduate from Cal State San Bernardino. I'm currently looking for internship opportunities in the music industry, and your PR company caught my eye as a place where I could really gain hands-on experience. Because of my background and high interest in working with in music, I'm writing to see if there are any open opportunities in the publicity and marketing sector. Throughout my academic career, I was able to learn and practice the fundamentals of communication and public relations. I also gained marketing experience, as I was my university student union social media manager for 2 years, where I tripled their following and largely increased their engagement. In addition, I established myself as a credible live music photographer, as I cover several festivals and shows for online publications. I believe I would make an excellent addition to your team and will learn a lot from you in return. Please let me know if there are any opportunities open. I'd love to help out in any way.
All right. So lots that we can dig into there, but what's your general thought on, as you were putting this together, What
Um,
was going through your head? What were you hoping to hear back from this person?
reading it back now, it's been I sent this over 2 months ago. Reading it back now, I feel like one, I think I wrote too much. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of this and that and this and that. Where I talked about I was a PR major. Um, I talked about how I was the manager, the social media manager, and then a photographer. Um,
It's a lot of information.
yeah,
Yeah.
but as far as what I wanted to hear back, just either them being like, yeah, like we are looking for interns, um, or what are you interested in doing, um, or worst case scenario, just them just like, no, not at the moment, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, and this is one of the issues that arises when we're kind of not clued into how networking works, right?
Mhm.
Um, so basically what you did there, and this is it's almost like not even or it makes perfect sense why you wrote a message like this. You
Mhm.
just went through college. College is all about like write long form, hit the word count kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's all about
Yeah.
saying everything all at once. And it really
Yeah.
doesn't have much of a focus on like the long game. It's like get
Mhm.
the essay in and graduate, right?
Mhm.
So what ends up happening is we're trained to write these long, winding things that are all about us. Basically, what you
Mhm.
did there was you wrote a cover letter in your intro message.
Mhm.
And so if you look at it from that perspective, it's like, oh, wait, maybe I need to parse this information out over a string of conversations. Maybe I need to build the relationship before I can ask for the opportunity. Maybe there's other ways to connect beyond just
Yeah.
saying everything all at once. And that's
Mhm.
that's one of the downfalls or the sort of stopping points of the interview process is we're sort of encouraged um, to talk only about ourselves and to say
Mhm.
everything all at once. So a
Mhm.
lot of what you said in this intro was, I've done this, I want this. Do you have an internship for me? Right.
Mhm.
When in
Yeah.
reality, it should be the exact opposite of what you've done here.
Mhm.
Not as a slight to you, but just as like this is like the behind the scenes, how it all
Oh, yeah, yeah, for
how to
sure.
actually think about the psychology of the person you're writing to, right? So if
Yeah.
you think about it from a marketing perspective, we have to write these messages with the reader in mind. If you look at something like Nike, right? They don't say, hey, our shareholders are really excited about making more money this year. Would you please go to the store and buy some shoes to make our shareholders happy? Right?
Hmm.
They don't
Mhm.
do that because they know you don't care about the shareholders. The same way a
Yeah.
company doesn't care about us wanting a job or us wanting an
Oh,
internship. They're
okay.
not giving us an internship to solve our problem. They're giving us an internship to solve their problem. And so that's what we want to address in this message, right? So what Nike really does is they say, are you wanting to go for a hike? Are you wanting to run farther or jump higher or whatever? And then if you say yes to that, then they go, here's our jumping shoe and our running shoe and our hiking shoe, right? For you, for
Mhm.
your problems. And we
Mhm.
want to do the same thing to these companies. So what we
Mhm.
can do is we can say, hey, you know, Lauren or whoever it was, um, I've been looking through, or while the kind of basic template I use is like, while researching the music industry, your profile came up or your
Mhm.
business came up. So it's
Mhm.
kind of setting the stage of how you came across them. So while I was doing research on the music industry, your profile came up and it looks like you're doing some fascinating things at this
Mhm.
company in this industry. I'd be curious to learn more about your work. Would you be open for a quick conversation? So super
Mhm.
short, make it about them and have a clear next step of what to do next. Jump on a phone call. Because then in the
Mhm.
phone call, you could talk about how you just graduated and how you did social media for your school and
Mhm.
how you tripled the results and everything like that.
Yeah.
But if we try and say it all at once, we overwhelm the person and
Mhm.
they just literally don't know how to reply. Like that person's
Mhm.
probably not sitting there going like, oh, let me go to the job boards and see if I can find something for this guy, right? They're probably
Yeah.
going, oh my God, I'm late for a meeting. I've been up all night. I'm really tired. Like they're stressed out about their own stuff. So we got to kind of
Oh,
realize what state of mind they're in. And also
Um,
if the, the CEO or whoever it is doesn't reach out, go down a rung, go to the, director, the VP, the manager, the junior manager, find the person
yeah,
that will respond. I'll pause there. What are
yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Really like, I think that's very, very helpful, extremely helpful. But, and you're right about them reading a message like that and just be like, okay, like, I don't care, like I don't care. I'm
Not even
busy
I
on
don't
my own.
care, but like I don't have time. That's more
Yeah,
so it. It's like,
exactly.
oh,
Yeah,
I mean, I might want to help this person, but I don't have time.
yeah.
But if you
Mm.
flatter them a little bit, they'll be like, oh, well, I want to feel flattered a little more. So I have time.
Yeah, I like that though. You're right about trying to build the relationship first rather than just here's what I want. But yeah.
For sure. And then you can almost weave your project into it. Like, so that's entry level networking, messaging, setting up one-on-one meetings and things like that.
Mm,
But then there's you keep going down that road. And this is sort of the journey I went through too. It's like start with professional organizations, then do one-on-ones, then get comfortable with one-on-ones, then lead groups. So I would start hosting my own events. Then eventually you get to a point where you're like, well, how can I connect with more people on a more regular basis? And the podcast has many reasons. There's many reasons why I do a podcast, but part of it is it's my kind of project that allows me to stay in touch with the community, coaches,
mm,
therapists, job seekers, in a much more informal but also formal way, right? Like
mm,
if I just said, hey, you want to get on a call for an hour to a VP of some place, it's a little harder to get them on the phone than if they want to be on a podcast episode or something like that.
mm,
Um,
mm.
but again, like this is just one of many reasons to keep building your projects and keep putting yourself out there, right? Someone who
Yeah.
is on the board of some music organization is going to have more opportunities to talk to people that work at these companies, or someone who is
Mhm,
volunteering to host different cool events, or in your case building these playlists, or
mm,
maybe you build playlists like, and you reach out to the local musicians you're putting on the playlist and you talk to them a
mm,
little bit and ask them who their managers are and what
mm.
companies they're working with and things like that. So you can almost leverage the project that you're building
Yeah.
into your networking and into your sort of strategy beyond just, I hope someone sees it, to
Mm.
how can I utilize it as a vehicle to get more connections?